Hello, I'm going to be working with you today on the String Orchestra Viola Excerpt. Now, this is the ending of a piece by Saint-Saëns, Bacchanal from Samson and Delilah. Now, I really encourage you to look this piece up on YouTube to really get a sense of how this sounds musically, because it's definitely a pretty wild piece of music, and we want to reflect that in how we play it. Lots of bow, lots of vibrato, lots of really lush viola sound. And you can find two different versions if you look it up on YouTube. If you type in the title exactly how you see it listed on your Houston Youth Symphony excerpt, then you will come across string orchestra arrangements of this piece, which is what this is from, but also the actual Saint-Saëns Bacchanal, which includes a full orchestra. I encourage you to listen to that as well, because then you can really get a sense of the majesty and the grandeur of this piece. So, if you don't know what a bacchanal is, I will tell you. A bacchanal is really a sort of wild party. That is the best way that I can describe it in this context. So, I'm going to perform this excerpt for you right now up to tempo. I'm choosing the quarter note at 142 option just so you can get a sense of where we need to get to once we start working on this piece. So I will put on the metronome so you can hear what that will sound like. And you may notice that some of my fingerings are different than what your teacher has been giving you, and that's okay. 1, 2, 1, 2. Okay, so this excerpt is a lot of fun. So one of the things I want to point out to you that I was unable to do with the metronome on is in measure 218 it says accelerando al fine, or to get faster to the end. And we really want to pace that. So the next time I perform it for you at the end of this video, I will do it without the metronome so that you can kind of hear an example of one way to do that. And so we don't want to get too out of hand at the end and make our audition sound messy, for instance, but we can definitely give it more spirit and more drive at the end. So, in terms of fingerings, I personally always have a really hard time deciding what fingerings to choose because there's so many different options. I encourage you to choose what will sound the best for you. So here's an example of a few different options. So the version I started with was in second position. And the reason why I chose that is because my very first couple of measures could be really clean. There's no shifting or anything like that. Now, another option would be to do it maybe in first to really get some of that wild bacchanal flavor. That would be a beautiful and totally legit way to play this excerpt. And another option would be to maybe go back and forth between third position and first position. So, that time when I was demonstrating it for you, the first position option felt really good to me. So, but as you're practicing, you might find that on a Monday, third position works. On a Tuesday, second position is your favorite position, and on Wednesday, maybe going back and forth between all of them is the best option. But definitely record yourself before you send in your Houston Youth Symphony audition tape so you can hear what the audition person will be hearing. And you might surprise yourself with which position or fingering choice actually sounds the cleanest or the best or gets the musicality across. So I just want to iterate that there's no correct version of a fingering for you to choose, but just what you will sound the best doing. And in fact, one of the expected skills for string orchestra is proficiency in first, second, and third positions. So if you maybe throw in a little third position or second position here and there, it could be something to demonstrate your ability to play in those positions. So something else I wanted to bring up were all the chromatics that start in bar 218. So one of the things we want to be aware of is that we're not compressing between our E flat and our F sharp, that harmonic minor kind of sound, which gives it its really exotic flavor, that's really in tune. So one way that I would encourage you to practice that is to put on a drone. And hopefully you've used a drone before in your lessons or in your private practice. And, well, let me put on a different octave. So I'll put on this D. You can really tune it with your drone to make sure that that's really in tune. And also, as we're setting up that hand frame, we don't want your pinky to be falling underneath your viola or your hand frame, because then that can also, oh no, make it really too hard to stretch when we're playing it really fast. So another thing you could do is put on your D drone and set up your fourth finger A. Good, and now we're going to go down the harmonic minor scale. So that way we can really feel how much that our hand frame needs to be up and around to really get that in tune. So when we're approaching this from measure 216, for instance, we've sort of got it in our muscle memory, what that feels like to be able to grab that A and really get it in tune once the chromatics start. And that repeats itself a couple of times throughout this excerpt. Now, another thing I wanted to bring up, so before I mentioned that we need to accelerando to the end or get faster to the end, but one of the things that is not very apparent on this excerpt is what dynamic is it? Well, I can tell you this, it's just really big and full and fortissimo and loud, like literally the entire time. But that means that we need to give ourselves a little bit of sonic room to really bring out the fact that the ending is coming. And this is not a requirement, but it's the kind of cool thing you can do that in measure 230, if you just kind of back off a little bit in the dynamics department and then do a big crescendo to the end, that is a sort of little trick that you can do to kind of push the music forward without tiring yourself out. So, for instance, I'll start maybe in measure 227. So we're super fortissimo, and then I'm going to drop down just a little bit in 230 to give myself the ability to kind of push it to the end. So just a little bit, and then I can really crescendo to the end. And you'll hear me do that again when I play through the excerpt one more time. I would encourage you in measures 227, 228, and 229 to maybe do a 3-1, 3-1 in half position as you're fingering. But I have small hands, so that's a fingering that I would choose. If you can really get that augmented second between the F sharp down to the low E flat in tune with just your first and second finger, well then, kudos to you. But I would encourage you to give the half position a try on this one. So something I wish that I had done better when I first played this through for you was use more bow. And so I'm going to perform this excerpt for you again without the metronome. I'm going to try to use more bow. I'm going to accelerando to the end and do that little drop in measure 230 to see if it kind of helps give it more energy at the end. So, and you can try that and record yourself and see if that comes across or works for you. And again, the fingering, there's no right or wrong way to do it. It is just whatever you sound the best doing. So here's another run through of the String Orchestra Viola Excerpt, part of the Bacchanal from Samson and Delilah by Saint-Saëns, arranged by Porter. One, two, 1, 2. Okay, thank you for listening.